class, in this video, we'll be going over the solutions just for the multiple choice section for the quadratic post-test revision. So for the very first question, we want to establish whether this particular quadratic equation has a minimum or a maximum turning point. In order for you to identify whether something has a minimum or maximum, you're just going to be looking at the a value, and if it's a negative a value, then that would mean that you've got an unhappy face, and if you've got a positive a value, then you will have a happy face parabola. In this case over here, because it's going to be a negative a value, in this case negative 2, you will have an unhappy face parabola, which means that your turning point is classified to be the maximum, okay? So therefore B will be the correct answer for question 1. Question 2 wants you to do this exact same thing. In this case, because you've got a happy face, it's therefore going to be a minimum. Question 3, the turning point of the quadratic rule y is equal to negative 2 x plus 3 whole squared plus 7 can be described as what? So in order for you to answer this question correctly, you need to first identify what is the turning point. So in this case, your turning point is going to be equal to negative 3 and 7. So this would either give you option A or option B, but you have to identify whether it's going to be a maximum or minimum. In this case, because your A value is negative, this would indicate that you've got a maximum turning point. So A will be the correct answer. For question 4, it reads, the coordinates and type of turning point of y is equal to negative x plus 2 whole squared plus 1 is what? In this case, the turning point is going to be negative 2 and positive 1. And because they've got a negative value here again, therefore it's going to be a maximum. So therefore, the correct option is going to be D. Question 5 wants you to find what the minimum is, and notice over here this is expressed in the standard form, so you are going to use the formula to calculate your turning point. So in this case over here, when it's asking for the minimum value, it's technically asking for you what is the y value of a turning point, because if you were to graph this, your graph would kind of look like this, and hence if you find the y value turning point, that will give you what is the minimum or the lowest value. So the formula to calculate that, guys, was TP x is equal to negative b on 2a. So substitute your values in. So negative b, so there'll be 12 on 2. That gives you 6. So that's the x value. And therefore you sub that into the equation. So it's going to be 36 minus 72 plus 46. So put that into the calculator. So 36 minus 72 plus 46. And therefore you will get 10 as an answer. So therefore that is going to be the minimum value. Let's go to the next question. So question 6 wants you now to find the discriminant. So remember, guys, discriminant tells us how many x-intercepts or how many solutions are present for any given quadratic equation. So the formula was b squared minus 4ac. So in this case, if you go, in this case, b is equal to negative 2. So if you go, b squared will be 4 minus 4, 6, negative 3. So if you put that into the calculator, 4 minus 4 times 6 times negative 3, then you're going to get an answer of 76. So that's going to be the value of your discriminant. Question 7 also wants you to do the same thing. So in this case, your negative b value, your b squared value, is going to be 1 minus 4, 5, negative 2. So put that into the calculator. And if you do this, then what you should get as an answer is going to be equal to, hold up a second, we even have an answer 1 take away 4 times 5 times negative 2. That should give you to positive 41, but we don't have that at all, so it's going to be D as an answer here. Question 8 wants you to find how many solutions there are. So in this case, because the quadratic the discriminant equals to positive 25, this will indicate that you've got 2 solutions. Remember, any value greater than 0 indicates you've got 2 x-intercepts. Question 9 wants you to determine the discriminant over here and tell us what is the nature of the solutions. So in this case, if you were to find the discriminant, it's going to be 49 minus 4 times 1 times 13. So put that into the calculator, 4 times 13. So therefore, that's going to give you to negative 3. And as a result, because it's a negative value, this will indicate there are no solutions present at all. Moving on to the next question, question 10. Once the discriminant has a discriminant, okay, I think I did a typo here. So how many x-intercepts are there if your discriminant equals to negative 3? So in this case over here, it's going to have 0 x-intercepts because your discriminant is a negative value. Since you can't take the square root of a negative number when you put it into the quadratic formula, that's why you've got no x-intercepts. The next question wants you to find the axis of symmetry, guys. So remember, the axis of symmetry is essentially what is the x value of a turning point, okay? And we always write that as an equation where it's in the form of x equals to a certain number. And this is going to be like an imaginary vertical line that runs down symmetrically through the x value of the turning point. So in this case over here, because it runs through your turning points, therefore your answer for this question over here is going to be B. For question 12, it tells you what the vertex is, which is the turning point. Where is the axis of symmetry? And hence, it's always going to be the x value of a turning point. So it's going to be x is equal to -3. Sweet. Moving on to the next question. Your axis of symmetry is going to be when x is equal to 3. So B will be the answer. For the next 3 questions, it's going to ask us to expand, and we're going to be using therefore the FOIL method. So remember, the FOIL method is an acronym. So F means first. So you multiply the first 2 letters within the brackets. O stands for outside, I stands for inner, L stands for last, okay? So therefore, if you're using the FOIL method to expand this, therefore it would be x squared, because you multiply the first term together. Then you multiply the outside term, so therefore it's going to be plus 2x. Multiply the inner term, so that's going to be plus 3x. And then multiply the last term, so therefore it's going to be plus 6. Collect your like terms over here, and if you do that, therefore A will be the correct answer. Do the same thing for question 15. So if you do this, it will be x squared minus 6x plus 2x minus 12. Collect the like terms here. Negative 6x plus 2x will give you positive 4x. Negative 4x. So therefore, A would be the correct answer. And for the very last one, in this case over here, if you guys can kind of recognize this, this is kind of like a difference of perfect square over here. Okay, if you were to factorize it, that is. So therefore, if you were to again use the FOIL method, therefore this would give you negative root 3 whole squared minus x root 3 plus x root 3 this is going to be a negative here, negative x squared. And in this case over here, what you're going to do is this essentially cancels each other out, so you don't have to worry about that at all. And in this case over here, when you square root a third by itself, so when you square it, it's just going to be this number over here, because if we go square root 3 times square root 3, that equals to square root 9, and square root 9 is essentially 3. So therefore, if I also simplify that, it's just going to be 3 minus x squared. Hence, C is going to be our answer over here. Okay, the next few questions will now ask us to factorize, okay? So we will have to use the product sum method to factorize some of these over here. So for the very first question, you're trying to find 2 numbers that multiplied with each other, but adds up to negative 11. In this case over here, it's going to be negative 8 and negative 3, because negative 8 take away 3 gives you negative 11. And when you multiply these 2 negatives, it will give you a positive 24. So therefore, if you your answer would therefore be A in this case over here. For question 18, this over here is an example of a difference of perfect square. So in this case over here, your answer is going to be k plus 5, k minus 5, okay? And so therefore, that would correspond to B. Question 19 wants you to factorize. Now this one does look a bit more difficult because this is an example of a non-monic. So what you're going to do for this type of question over here is, if there is a highest common factor, always take that outside and factorize it before you then apply the product sum method. So in this case, the highest common factor present in all 3 terms is 3. So if you take that out, your equation will now look something similar to this. And now that it's in this form over here, I can easily factorize this using the product sum method. So find 2 numbers, multiply each other, that gives you 5, but adds up to 6. In this case, it's going to be positive 5 and positive 1. So therefore, our answer is going to be 3, x plus 5, x plus 1. Hence, C will be the correct answer. For question 20, 21, 22, it's related to transformation. So is it related to translations, dilations, and reflections? So for the very first questions over here, what type of transformation has taken place? In this case over here, guys, this kind of looks very similar to the turning point form, and the turning point form kind of tells you very readily like what kind of translations takes place, okay? In this case over here, because it's a -3, that would indicate your turning point or the transformation take place is that it's translated 3 units to the right. Because if you were to graph this out, then your graph would look something similar to this over here with the 3, 0 as your turning point. So in this case, it's moved 3 units to the right. So D would be the correct answer. For question 21, what type of transformation has taken place? Therefore, in this case over here, this -1, you do the opposite when it's inside the bracket. So therefore, it means it has moved 1 unit to the right, positive to the right. So therefore, which one does it say? Okay, 1 unit to the right and 3 units down. So therefore, D is the correct option. For question 22, again, same process. So therefore, in this case, you look at the opposite when it's inside the bracket. So therefore, it's moved 2 units to the right and it's moved 5 units up. So 2 units to the right and 5 units up. Therefore, A would be the correct answer. For the next series of questions, it's now asking you to pretty much identify what are the x-intercepts or solve it. So in this case over here, for the question 23, because it's already factorized, the quickest way to solve for it is to use the null factor law, okay? So C will be the correct answer. For question 24, which equation has solutions to a -5? So what this question is saying is that this over here is your x-intercept. So therefore, which one of these equations has x equals to 2 and x is equal to -5 as your x-intercepts? So in this case over here, the correct answer would be A. So if you apply the null factor law, you will see that this equals to 2 and x is equal to -5. For question 25, it wants you to solve for x, so essentially find the x-intercepts. In this case here, you use the null factor law, so you equate this over here to 0, so x is equal to 0, or x plus 7 is equal to 0. Hence, if you rearrange it, x is equal to -7. So the correct answer over here is going to be C. For question 26, you're trying to solve for x. In this case over here, you are going to have to isolate x by itself. So let's move everything away that's not x to the right-hand side. So we'll move 3 to the right-hand side. So if you do that, it's going to be x minus 7 whole squared is equal to +3. And what we'll do next is to get rid of the square sign, we're going to take the square root of both sides of the equation, okay? But remember, when you take the square root of a positive number, you will have the negative as well as the positive root. So what I mean by that is if you square root it, this is what you get. X minus 7 is equal to +√3, or alternatively, it will be x minus 7 is equal to -√3. And now what we do for each of these solutions is we'll just have to move the 7 to the other side. So therefore, it'll be x is equal to 7 plus √3, or it'll be x is equal to 7 minus √3. So the one that looks correct out of all of these is going to therefore be A in this case. Yep, A looks good. Sweet. For question 27, you need to solve it by factorizing first using the product sum method. So find two numbers that multiplied with each other that gives you -27, but adds up to -6. So in this case over here, it's going to be -9 and +3, because -9 plus that gives you -6. So therefore, in this case over here, if I was to factorize it, it would be x minus 9, x plus 3 is equal to 0, okay? And therefore, using the product sum, the null factor law, sorry, it's going to be x is equal to +9 and x is equal to -3. So in this case, the correct answer would be C. Moving to the next question now. So the next 3 questions wants you to find out what your y-intercepts are. So essentially, the y-intercept for the very first one is going to be -8 because the value of C in the standard form tells you what the y-intercept is. And in this case over here, the only correct answer is going to be A, okay? B, you could say that this could be technically correct, but 0 doesn't have a charge or a sign at all. It's not positive, neither it is negative. So that's why B is incorrect. They try to trick you over here. That over there would correspond to an x-intercept, and D is just far off, and it's just incorrect. Question 29, it wants you to find what the y-intercept is. Now, most students often make the mistake where they think this +4 is the y-intercept, but that's not the case if it's expressed in the turning point form, okay? It could be, but it doesn't actually necessarily have to equal to that term over here. So to find out your y-intercept, we sub in x is equal to 0, okay? And therefore, if you do this, it will be y is equal to 3 bracket 0 minus 1 whole squared plus 4. 0 minus 1 is -1, and -1 whole squared is equal to +1. So y is equal to 3 times +1 is 3, plus 4 is therefore equal to 7. So therefore, this is going to be our y-intercept value. Do the same thing for question 30. So in this case, sub x is equal to 0. So it's going to be y is equal to negative 0 minus 1 whole squared minus 3. 0 minus 1, negative 1 whole squared is still positive 1. But because there's a negative sign here, it will be y is equal to negative 1 minus 3. Hence, y is equal to negative 4. So therefore, C will be the correct answer. The next few questions wants us to interpret what the turning point is, or to actually solve for our turning point. So question 31 over here wants you to interpret what the turning point is based on the turning point formula. So therefore, your answer is going to be B. For question 32, the answer for this question over here is going to be C. For question 33, it wants you to identify what is the x-coordinate of the turning point, and the information that it tells us is the two x-intercepts, okay? So if I was to roughly draw this, then it's going to look something like this, okay? This could be what the parabola actually looks like. Now, in order for you to answer this question, you guys have to understand that your turning point will always be the midway distance between both of your x-intercepts. So therefore, this is negative 7. This is positive 2. Find the distance that's halfway between them. So therefore, the number of distance from negative 7 all the way to 2, you would agree with me that's equal to 9 units in total. Okay, and to find the average of these, it would just be 9 units, the distance between them, divided by 2 to find the halfway. So therefore, it's going to be 4.5. Okay, so that'll be 4.5 units to be midway if you travel it from the left-hand side or travel from the right-hand side towards the center. So what I want to do is I'll just start from 2, okay, and I'll just go 2 subtract 4.5, and if you do that, then you will get, let's say 2 minus 4.5, you'll get negative 2.5 as an answer. So therefore, the correct answer is going to be A. For question 34 over here, you need to find the turning point, and you will need to use the formula in this case. So in this case over here, the formula was TP is equal to negative B onto A. Substitute the values in. B is negative 4, so 2 negatives will make a positive. So it'll be 4 on 2 and negative 1. So therefore, your x value is going to equal to negative 2. So this automatically eliminates B and C. So what we need to do now is we just need to substitute our x value into the equation to find out the corresponding y value of our turning point. So if you do this, it would be y is equal to negative 2 whole squared minus 4 negative 2 plus 12. So let's simplify that. Y is equal to negative 4 plus 8 plus 12 in this case. So put that into the calculator, or you can do this in your head if you'd like, and therefore you'll get 16 as an answer. Hence A will be the correct answer over here. For question 35, do the exact same thing. So therefore it will be 6 on 2, 3. So 6 on 6. So therefore our x value of the turning point is going to be 1. So that in this case, because most of these don't have 1, therefore that would indicate to me that A would be the correct answer. Moving to the next questions. So the next two questions wants us to complete the square, okay? So completing the square was a method we generally use when you can't really factorize using the product sum method. So in this case over here, in order to do that, guys, remember we take the B value and we half it and then we square it, okay? And what we do is we add and subtract that so that we don't really change the equation, okay? So therefore, if I was to do this, B in this case is 6. So 6 on 2 whole squared, that's the same thing as 3 whole squared, which is equal to 9. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be adding 9 and then subtracting 9. So our equation would look like x squared plus 6x. And what I'll do is I'll add 9 and followed by subtracting it, and then write the remaining term, so plus 2 in this case over here. I can therefore factorize this because this is a nice perfect square. So therefore, this is going to be x plus 3 whole squared. Negative 9 plus 2 is going to equal to negative 7, okay? And therefore, because we're trying to factorize it, in this case over here, we always try to factorize it as a difference of perfect square. So in this case over here, a difference of perfect square looks something similar to this, a squared minus b squared. I'm hoping over here you can kind of see that a in this case kind of is equal to x plus 3. And b over here is going to equal to is going to equal to the square root of 7, or 7 as a third. So therefore, because this equals to a plus b, a minus b, we just substitute our a and b values into this set of brackets over here to find out what our answer is. So if you do that, then it's going to be x plus 3 plus root 7, x plus 3 minus root 7. And we'll just find out which one is the correct answer then. So therefore, if I'm looking at this, the one that looks correct is going to be option B over here. Now, question 37 says the quadratic rule y is equal to x squared minus 4x minus 3 when written in the turning point form is what? Now, the great thing about completing a square is that it kind of actually allows us to convert the standard form into the turning point form. So we'll do the exact same method where we get b, half it, then square it. So in this case, your b value is equal to -4. So if you go -4 on 2 whole squared, that's the same thing as writing -2 squared, which is therefore +4, right? So therefore, in this case, I'm just going to show my working out here because I don't have space. It would be y is equal to x squared minus 4x, and I'm going to add 4, and then subtract 4 again, and then just write the remaining terms, -3. I can factorize the first 3 terms over here, so therefore, in this case, it's going to be y is equal to x minus 2 whole squared, and -4 minus 3 again gives you -7. Hence, in this case over here, the correct answer would also be B as well. For questions 38, 39, and 40, you need to use the quadratic formula to solve for it. So question 38 just simply wants you to interpret what are the values of A, B, and C when you use the quadratic formula. So therefore, the correct answer over here is going to be A. Question 39 now wants you to actually substitute the values into the quadratic formula. So remember, the quadratic formula was -b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. That was what the quadratic formula states, and it allows you to find the, your x-intercepts. So substitute the value in. Therefore, it's going to be, that's going to be 9 plus minus square root of 81 minus 4 times 2 times -35, all divided by 2 times 2. So you're going to have to put that all into the calculator. So just go 9 plus 8 of square root 81 minus 4 times 2 times -35, and that's going to be 4. And this case over here, I found that one of my solutions is when x is equal to 7. So what I've done is I went 9 plus to find out one of them. And to find out the next solution, I'll have to just go 9 minus the square root of 81. But in this case over here, I don't actually have to show full working out because only one of them has an x-intercept that's equal to 7. Hence, D would be the correct answer, okay? And for question 40, again, I'll do the exact same thing. So substitute the values into the quadratic formula. So it would be 35 plus minus 35 squared. So 35 squared is equal to 1,225 minus 4 times 5 times 60, all divided by 2 times 5. So I'm going to find the positive solution first. 1,225 minus 4, 5 times 60 divided by 2 times 5 is equal to 10 in this case over here. And in this case over here, I found that x is going to therefore equal to +4. So therefore, this eliminates already options A and options D. So the correct answer is either going to be B or C. So in this case, I'll now go 35 minus square root of 1,225 and everything else to find the negative solution in this case over here. Not necessarily the negative solution, but whatever that this one equates to. So therefore, if we do that, just putting things into my calculator now, 225 minus 5 times 60 divided by 10, it would be x is equal to 3. So therefore, C is going to be the correct answer. And for the very last two questions for the multiple choice section, these are related to application questions, so you're going to have to understand what the question is asking you based on the context. Question 41 reads, Joe can track the height in meters of a thrown ball using the equation h is equal to -16t squared plus 140t plus 2. What was the starting height? Okay, so therefore, if you can kind of roughly sketch what this is, okay? This over here tells us you're going to have an unhappy face parabola. And I don't really need to know what this graph looks like accurately, okay? So it's going to look something similar to this over here. And because in this case, we're dealing with application questions, usually, as I said, there's no such thing as a negative like x values or negative y values. In this case, x represents time in this case over here, and h represents height. You can't have negative time, you can't have negative height, so just ignore these sections over here. The question wants you to find what is the starting height. So essentially, it's asking you for what the y-intercept is. And in this case, because it's in the standard form, 2 is going to be what your y-intercept is. So hence C is going to be the correct answer. And for the very last question, question 42, it tells you a toy rocket follows this particular equation over here. The question wants you to find what is the maximum height, okay? So again, if I was to draw this very roughly, that could be what the graph looks like. Because it's asking for the maximum, essentially it's asking for the y value of your turning point. So let's find out what the turning point is going to be by using the formula negative b on 2a to find out the x value of the turning point. So substitute it in, it's going to be negative 4 on 2, negative 1. So therefore it's going to be positive 2 as the x value of the turning point. Sub x is equal to 2 to find the y value. So y is going to be, or in this case y by h in this case, is going to equal to negative 2 squared plus 4 times 2 plus 6. That's going to give you negative 4 plus 8 plus 6 over here. So in this case, it's going to equal to 10 meters. Hence, A will be the correct answer. So this is pretty much the solutions for the multiple choice section. Please watch the next video to see the solutions for the short answer question.